information about company product and its history. Sunergy LLC is an Azerbaijan-based global solar panel production company which will sell its products to Egypt. The market size for solar energy is rapidly increasing, and there is still huge opportunities for new investors to enter the market. Sunergy LLC will offer its clients highest quality products, and it aims to become a global market leader in solar panel production. As history writes, the first usage of solar energy dates back to 7th century BC, when people first used sunlight to create fire. However, only with the invention of photovoltaic cells in 19th century, solar energy became more widely used energy source. To put it simple, solar panel is technology that converts sunlight into electricity. When photons in sunlight enter solar cells, electrons get separated from their atoms and they begin to move in direction of electrical circuit, and electricity is generated as a result. It means that we should have enough sunny days for our product to continue its operation. And if we analyze the geographic location and nature of Egypt, it can be concluded that it's one of the best places to produce and sell our product because of its features. Also, one of the main ingredients in production of solar panel is silicon, which is a main component of natural beach sand. And most part of Egypt locates in deserts. This fact means that we can benefit from Egypt's competitive advantage. Egypt also has competitive advantage in silver resources. And if we consider that our product is technology related, we may assume that major part of our workforce will be engineers, and average monthly engineer salary in Egypt is lower than other countries. All these facts support our idea to produce and sell our product in this country.
Okay, so let's now talk about demographics and culture of Egypt. Let's start with demographics. Egypt is a relatively high populated country with around 100 million people according to the most recent data. It's not that dense. It has only 100 people per square kilometer, which ranks around 100th in the world ranking. And not most people live in the cities, but only 38.7% of all whole population are urbanized. So now let's look at population growth. Population growth in Egypt is around 2% per annum, which is a relatively high indicator in comparison with other countries. And another interesting fact about Egypt is that only 8% of area is utilized for living, which means that other parts are in extreme temperatures, in extreme conditions that are not good for living purposes. So, thanks to recent developments in the country, mortality rates went extremely down, which means the life expectancy is also higher than it was before. So from 1937, it has almost doubled in values. And right now, the life expectancy is 69 years for men and 73 years for women. Proportion of men is also higher than that of women. For example, per one female, there's 1.05 males, which makes the number of males higher than that of females. Let's now turn to the culture of Egypt. Egypt is considered to be a high context culture, which means that personal relationships are most important in their society, and they put high value to norms and behaviors. But they also put high value to non-verbal communication and implicit messages, and they are not that strict about deadlines. And for more detailed analysis, let's now look at Hofstede's cultural dimensions. So first of all, Egypt is a high power distant country, which means that inequality is a normal thing for them if someone is ranked higher, and he or she should be treated with more respect. It also means that hierarchical system is a norm for their businesses. An implication for our company is that we should keep respect to the elderly, to the people with higher rank, and we should also strive to be hierarchical. Next degree is the degree of individualism. So they are really low in this indicator, which means that they are a collectivistic society and they really depend on groups. So they are associated with groups. So if someone calls out another person, he or she is most likely to be associated with his family or friends rather than with his individual achievements. And they put moral terms very important to their society, and they try to abide to them. Next to mention is the femininity versus masculinity. So Egypt is a relative feminine society, which means that they put value and care above all the other determinants, and they consider others' opinions more important than some individual opinions. They are also highly uncertainty avoidant culture, which means that they are prone to having codes of behavior, strict rules, and such avoidance of risk. So they are really concrete about the terms before a business. They are also punctual, which means that if we have some business relationships with them and some meetings, we should make sure that we don't come late. Next, we can look at short-term orientation versus long-term orientation. So Egypt is a short-term oriented country, which means that they are a normative society and they put traditions above everything else. And if we strive to be a traditional company, we can be successful there. So Egypt is a really restrained country, which means that they try to control their emotions, their desires, and they tend to be more pessimistic rather than optimistic. And they put social norms above everything. That means that they try to abide to norms that were accepted by other people.
I'm Rzayeva Narmin, and I would like to talk about the economic advantages of Egypt, which helps us to create such a business, an alternative energy business in Egypt. Let's start with geographical opportunities. Egypt is situated at the Red Dot in the northern Africa. It is surrounded by Mediterranean and Red Sea and Sahara in the west. It is highly profitable to be situated at the coast of two seas, Red Sea and Mediterranean. Egypt is the only controller of the Suez Canal, the canal between the aforementioned seas, which create a great possibility for marine trade and also international trade on the overseas. Egypt also controls the Sinai Peninsula, which is right there, which is the only connection between Asia and Africa. The Sinai Peninsula is the main path to export oils from Arab Peninsula to the Africa, and respectively to Europe. Egypt also plays a great role in the development of Israeli and Gaza conflict because it is bordered with both of the countries. The natural hazards that are very frequent in Egypt are that Egypt is prone to both periodic droughts and flash floods, which are created by the Nile River. The climate is really hot, but that helps us with our business, with solar panel business. Egypt is prone to rushing windstorms, dust storms, and sandstorms. There are also a lot of frequent earthquakes happening that are actually not helping us with development of our business. And another awful part of the climate and geographical position in Egypt is that only 3% of lands are fertile, are suitable for farming, and that really reduces the agricultural possibilities in Egypt. But Egypt is really rich with natural resources, which include petroleum, natural gas, iron ore, phosphates, manganese, limestone, gypsum, talc, asbestos, which is great in the medicine sphere, lead, and zinc, which is also used in the production of medicines. Egypt is exporting such agricultural products as cotton, rice, wheat, beans. They breed such cattle as sheep, water buffalo, goats, and camels. Next, I would like to talk about the GDP combination, the GDP component of Egypt. Egypt is mostly focusing on three main components of GDP. The largest, the vastest one is undoubtedly service. Tourism is an important part of economy in Egypt. tourism. Well, you must all have heard about great touristic resorts, which are only compared and only which can only be compared to touristic resorts in Turkey. They're also all-inclusive a la carte. Another service component in Egypt is canal construction, is administrative jobs, it's canal trade, and lots of different. That creates a mere half of GDP, almost 50%, and it employs more than 50% of labor force in Egypt. The second greatest sphere of GDP is industry. Egypt is focusing lately on such industries as steel, oil extraction refinery, which is competing with alternative energy companies. It's focusing on chemical production, automobile production, domestic goods production. So it's mostly chemicals and extractions. It is taking over 37% of the GDP and employing 17% of workforce in Egypt. So labor is highly developed in industry sector. And the last but not least sector is agriculture. It used to be one of the greatest parts of Egyptian economy. However, with rapid industrialization, it has diminished in amounts. Around in 2010, the percentage of agriculture in the economy has decreased to 13%.
My name is Lala, and I'm going to talk about the political and legal environment for doing business in Egypt. So the legislature of Egypt is favorable to foreign firms doing FDI there. They even passed out the law called the New Investment Law in 2017. According to this law, we as a company will be able to surpass the registration process when importing machinery from Azerbaijan to Egypt. For us, it's a way to surpass all this long and unneeded bureaucracy process. Second, we'll get a tax redemption, which will translate into cost savings for us. And last but not least, we'll be able to transfer the profits we earned in Egypt abroad, which again is a safeguard mechanism for us as for a company. So the excess bureaucracy and corruption have always been serious issues in Egypt, but right now it is combated at governmental level. For instance, the government has appointed the National Committee for Combating Corruption for the implementation of the new national strategy. In the political front, Egypt has been involved into a heavy socio-political conflict since 2011. But now, after the new president was elected, the things are starting to get better. But because of the authoritative regime of the new president, because of the ongoing poverty and unemployment and constant disputes between the political parties, we think that this recovery is not going to happen soon. But then the question arises, why did we choose Egypt for doing business there, even if it possesses an intermediate level of political risk? The reason is that we think that there are ways to mitigate those risks. The first way is to purchase a political evacuation insurance, which we are planning to do. And the second is, there's a saying, the more the risk, the higher the opportunities. We have estimated that we will reap the profits from the market because production of solar panels in Egypt is a new market, it's an emerging market, and moreover, we're backed up by the support of the government.
Hello everyone, my name is Solmaz Khalilova, and today I'm going to talk about the market analysis for selling of our products in Egypt, exactly about solar panels. So, beginning from 2014, because of the significant increase in the number of population in Egypt, the government couldn't supply the whole population with electricity. Therefore, their only way was to turn the renewable resources, generate the energy from renewable resources into electricity. And currently, the government is increasing the share of the the electricity generated from sun. Therefore, we decided that this will create great opportunities for us to sell solar panels in Egypt. So I would like to begin from target market. Our target market will be businesses like restaurants, shopping malls, and etc. This is the obvious fact because it's clear that they will be using like electricity more than ordinary people, and probably they will be our main customers. Now I would like to shortly talk about competitive analysis. Our main competitor in Egyptian market is Eco Solar Solution Company, and there are a lot of indirect competitors in that market because, for example, Egypt export solar panels from China, from Canada, from the United States, from Poland and other countries. Now I would like to talk about regulations and projections. At last, regulations, I would like to mention one fact that there are a lot of regulations, of course, and I mentioned all of them in my paper, but I would like to stress out the regulation related to the incentives, that the government gives incentives to those people who invest in energy sector and who produces equipment for converting energy of sun, wind and hydropower into electricity. Therefore, this will give for us a support on behalf of government. And now I would like to turn to projections. The estimated growth is from this real data. I analyzed that our estimated growth is more than 2% because by 2022 the government is about to increase the share of the electricity turned from the energy of sun by more than 2%.